So in this video we're going to be looking at transportation within a river channel. I've dug out of the sand here a little river channel with a meander in it here. The first type of transportation we're going to be talking about is called traction. Now traction is where large material is pushed along the river channel's bed. So if we take this as our large material here, imagine that is in the river and this is the water. The water would push this along the bottom of the river channel all the way down like that. Our second type of transportation that we're going to talk about today is saltation. This requires smaller bits of material. So you see here we've got a couple of smaller bits of material. Saltation is where the material is bouncing like this along the riverbed all the way down, bounces along down the river channel. So for our next two types of transportation we are going to look at suspension and solution. Now suspension is when the river is carrying material that quite literally is suspended or sits in the water, so it doesn't roll along the bottom, it doesn't bounce, but it's still visible. So suspension would look something like this. So we put our bits of material in, and as you can see, they are suspended within our water, floating along all the way down the river channel. Our next type and final type is called solution. So solution is where very small amounts of material are dissolved through a chemical process within the water. So if I put in some lighter stuff like this, and then I give our water a bit of a stir, that will dissolve the material, as you can see, within the water. And this is how the smallest types of material are taken down the river channel, dissolved within the water itself. So now we're going to look at our four main types of erosion. So erosion is when within the river channel material is being broken down into smaller and smaller amounts. And this can be material from the riverbank, the riverbed, and even the material being carried down the river after it has eroded away from the river channel. So the first type of erosion I'm going to look at is hydraulic action. Now hydraulic action is when the water itself is eroding away at the river channel and the river bank. And to show you that, I'm going to pour some water into our river channel here. So as the water flows down the river, it erodes away the bank, and that material gets carried off downstream. Okay, so the second type of erosion that we are going to be looking at is abrasion. Now abrasion is when material being carried through the river through the processes of traction and saltation rubs along the river bank or the river bed and erodes it away like this. Pulls along, digging out the channel. Okay, our next type of erosion is called attrition. Attrition is when two bits of material meet in the river and erode away together like this. So they'll be bumping into each other within the river and eroding each other down into smaller and smaller pieces. Now our final type of erosion, you can see in here, we have some sand in here and some water. Our final type of erosion is the same as the type of transportation. It is called solution. So if you need to see a demonstration of that, watch the other video. But that is where really small material in the river is held within the water itself as a chemical solution, where it is dissolved into the water. And still, these really small particles are being carried right the way downstream.